Hello and welcome to our show every night at 7 o'clock. I'm here. I'm joined by Mike Jones and marijuana. Hello, Mike.
Yes, we are always joined by marijuana during this show, as if you didn't know that already.
Come on. No, we're not. No, we're not. Okay, we were supposed to have Bree Malarkey from Bree's Botanicals on our show tonight. And I got an email.
And that turned out to be a bunch of malarkey.
It did. I got an email about 15 minutes before we were going to start saying, gee, I'm feeling a little under the weather. This is not a problem because it never happens to us more than one time. Right, Mike?
I'm sorry, you dropped out a second there.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I will try harder. It never happens to us more than one time.
Yeah, typically no.
Yeah. Who was that other guy?
We have a one-time policy.
Yeah, right. Who was that other guy that blew us off?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
You don't remember who that was? Yeah.
Yes. Well, no. I don't remember who that guy who was scheduled to hook up with us at 4 o'clock, and I had a conversation with him, and then he blew us off. I don't remember who you're talking about.
Okay, all right. You remember every other detail, but not that one.
Yeah.
That's okay, because one of these days this guy's going to come back and talk to Mike, and Mike will say, "Sure, I don't have any problem with that," because he doesn't remember who it was. That's all right. That's all right.
No. I do remember who. I'm just. I'm treating him as though he's a college campus murderer or something. I'm not going to.
Yes. Okay. Because we're going to always refer to those people from now on as pathetic loser. All have the same name. Wouldn't that be delicious? From now on, they get no mention by the president by name. The victims, okay, if you must. The town, yeah, all right. But no mention of the shooters, not ever, ever again. The name of each one of the shooters is pathetic loser. Like that?
Yes.
That would go a long way to making it feel like they're not going to gain any fame.
You know what? Just to give them individuality, we could switch it up every time. It could be pathetic loser, panty waist, mama's boy.
Come on.
Or, whatever. I mean, you could just rotate them or whatever.
This reminds me of when Herb Carter came in and was trying to convince the county commissioners that they should invest in a system that would plant listening devices all over the county. What? And he says, no, they're not listening devices. They're devices that listen. Yeah, yes. Okay, yes, completely different, of course. Yeah, right. Well, they didn't go for that. Even the commissioners didn't go for it. Miracles do happen. Okay, so
I just want to know how that whole thing would have worked. Okay, let's say you plant a listening device at the corner of 6th and G. What are you going to get? You're going to get sounds of a bunch of cars going by, and occasionally you're going to get the sound of, yeah, Bill. That's what you're going to get.
The former sheriff was there, and he was all for this listening devices. They were going to start off in schools, and they said, "Well, how does this work?" They said, "Well, if there's gunfire, then we'll be able to tell." Now, how are you going to be able to tell gunfire from a backfire of a car?
Well, they do have listening devices that can tell, and as a matter of fact, in some. Oh, well, I don't know about that, but they do have some of these set up in some municipalities that listen. They're just listening devices, and they're like on some high place. And when something goes off, a number of these devices will pick it up, and they'll triangulate it and tell you where the gunfire is taking place.
Oh, this is all
I don't know that they're using that as much.
They didn't even need triangulation. Why? It would track the shooter from one room to another. Now, how can you tell who was the shooter and who were the students in the school? Oh, well, we've got sophisticated software. Why is it that people keep bringing plans to the commissioners that involve things like drones and listening devices? And what is it about this place?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. But we're here to talk about marijuana. Back when I was in the first stages of college, early 80s, and then extended into the early 90s, where I was living in Humboldt County, the typical people who were pals of mine, and I was the lone straight person, the designated driver or whatever. They hung around with me because, as one guy, as we were laughing about it one time, if I wasn't there being so straight, not that kind of straight, the other kind, then they wouldn't be freaks
Yes, because
anymore.
he's not the first kind of straight that he was talking about.
No, it's yeah. Then they wouldn't be freaks anymore if they didn't have somebody to compare with.
Oh, right. Yes, he needed some contrast.
Yes, exactly right. Yes, see, look at the beautiful contrast. Huh? Anyway, so better than Mike's. The thing is that well, these are the people that would have the old VW out in the front, always being repaired, and the old lady in the house, what they called their old lady, you know what I mean, and who was cooking up a vegetarian meal, and the fluffy dog, and marijuana growing in the back.
Sure.
That's the lifestyle. Okay. And they didn't really need to worry a lot about where am I going to put all my money, because it was self-sustaining, Mike. It was
Yes,
what's
didn't
that
have
word that's
any
used a lot?
money.
Yeah, what's a sustainable
Yes.
economy, whatever. Okay. And they were smoking most of it themselves and then giving away some to friends. Not to me, thanks anyway. I don't want anything down my lungs. So now the situation is just a little different. There's a lot more money involved, and this is not by drug cartels from Mexico, although they're still involved. And they're not just going to go say, well, I guess Oregon is different. Well, we'll give up all that business. It's right on the I-5 corridor. We've talked to the police chief about this and to the sheriff. They're not just going to go away. There's a lot of money involved. Mm-hmm. So one of the questions we had for Bree, and I'll stop mentioning her, is not individually, because we don't want to place her in some kind of jeopardy or something. Let's not be stupid about it. What do you do with all that money?
Yeah. Especially since the federal government has a problem still with marijuana, and so you can't take the money that you've been getting from selling all this marijuana to the bank, because they won't give you a bank account because of their FDIC insurance. And so so you can't have a bank account. So either you're going to have a really big safe, or you're going to have a really big safe and a bunch of people who are packing. So I would imagine that probably all of the people involved in dispensaries are if they haven't already, they will be warming to the idea of Second Amendment privilege.
Well, can't they just depend on the goodwill of others?
Yes, they could do that. That would be foolish.
Until their first encounter with the bad will of others.
Yeah, that would be foolish.
Think about it. You go to the track, right, I know what that's like, but you go to the track and you lay down a small amount and you win. Now you've got $20,000 in your pocket.
And a bunch of rough-looking characters just watched you receive the payout.
How are you going to get your car?
Yes, see, almost at every turn here, this is why I advocate having your own personal weapon. Not that you're going to be a danger to society, but you're going to be your own security.
Oh, okay.
Or at least an element of it.
I recognize that Sig Sauer, and I know it only carries how many bullets, Mike?
Oh, listen, I would not rely upon that, because not only do I always carry, well, I don't always carry, but not only do I carry quite often, but I'm also carrying an extra magazine or two.
Oh, just pause, fellows. Why, I reload.
Oh, I can reload very fast.
Okay.
I mean, anybody who knows automatics know you push the button, the magazine drops out. You already have the other magazine in your hand. You drop it in, you let the slide loose, you're ready to go.
And you thought this was a show about marijuana. Well,
that can all happen very, very fast.
It still is a show about marijuana, because now you have to deal. I mean, these are large amounts of cash. How do you get insurance? Can you imagine? Just think about it for a second. You're our viewers. Just imagine for a second that everything that you do at home, many of you are still working, of course, or everything that you did in your business could only be done as cash transactions. Wow.
Yeah. Well, listen, we wouldn't be at this place with gun control at this particular point in time if that were the case, because everybody would be carrying their own protection, and and of course, robberies of that type would be almost unheard of because you'd be stupid to try and do it.
Well, this is why Mike Jones is a big proponent for the 99th Amendment, which is marijuana is completely legal, and therefore it supports the Second Amendment because now you need to have a weapon because you can't put anything in the bank.
Well, and listen, I'm not totally against, cash transactions, although I rarely do them now.
All the time?
Just because, well.
How are you going to get a credit card?
Well, and this is all good. These are all good questions. As a matter of fact, who was it? Karen Darnell. I asked in Josephine County Politics and Neighborhood Chat, hey, we're going to have this guest on. What questions do you have about the business or, what's going on with medical/recreational marijuana? Karen Darnell said federal banking laws prohibit drug money. So how can all licensing fees be paid to the OLCC through the online payment system, as OLCC has suggested in the draft OAR? That's an excellent question. How are you going to do that? You're going to have to take some of that cash and dump it into your account, making your own personal account suspect for drug activity. And then you're going to have to pay this thing, or you're going to have to say, well, I had a job at Dairy Queen and that's how I got that money.
Well, now,
yes, I can prove that I had that money before the fact. Well, that's a toughie.
See, anyway, I never need to worry about this problem. Only if I had to. I mean, wouldn't it be great if I did? You do a cash transaction, several of them close to $10,000, or even one of them over $10,000 with your bank, and they're required by federal law to report that.
I think after a while of running a business like this, if you walked into their house, you would hear a lot of floor squeaking as you're walking around, because they would probably have taken up half of the floorboards and stashed their money somehow within the building or something. Anyway, let's see here. There's also a draft OAR that requires licensees to keep banking records. How's that going to work? That's an excellent question. Keep a spreadsheet of all this stuff. I'll tell you, until they start, nailing these guys for taxes around the first of the year, this is going to be fraud city. I mean, they're not going to report half of what they sell.
How can they?
How are
they supposed to pay, as you just said, OLCC, Oregon Liquor Control Commission? Mike is full of something tonight, but mostly acronyms. And so how in the world are they supposed to do that via credit card when you can't establish any kind of bank account? How do you pay your taxes? How do you pay your taxes? How do you write legitimately down there what it is that you're doing? You can't.
Well, I could see if you're paying it with a credit card, because a credit card is a credit card. It's not, from.
Yeah, but you have to establish credit somehow.
I'm assuming Bree or other people like her had a life before they got to this point here, and so they probably already have credit cards, and they're not going to take their credit cards away because of the business they're in until they figure that out.
Or debit cards too. I mean, you can go down to the bank and say, I want to start a debit card. Okay, but now.
What kind of business are you in?
I
guess you know what, you just say it's a personal account and you don't. But then I don't know. So that is an excellent question, and we don't really have the answer. Vivian asked, "Is there a difference between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana?" It's the same stuff. Will people be required to get prescriptions for medical marijuana? Still be required to get a medical marijuana card? Yes. The answer to that is yes. And because there's a benefit to it, you're not going to pay as much for it. It won't be taxed, I don't think. Will it? I don't know.
Well,
I think it's going to cost less money.
Had asked, is there a discount for veterans? A discount for veterans. Okay.
I didn't do that, by the way, but
okay, I did.
Take your word for it.
Okay. So I believe that some of these places do a discount for veterans, especially those suffering from what's now called post-traumatic stress syndrome. Okay. Now, disorder, PTSD. Now, my dad had that in World War II. That's not what they called it. Sometimes they called it.
Yeah, but they didn't call it that. They called it being shell shocked.
Right.
Yeah,
and then you get slapped by the general or whatever. But snap out of it. It's just a matter of
right.
willpower.
Yes, you've been watching too many movies. Many movies.
Just going back to World War I. Really, shell shock. That's what those guys.
Yeah.
They were guys. That's what they experienced. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so but I assume some of them had marijuana.
Kathy Foster asked a question that
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, sure they did. Kathy Foster asked a question. Who are they being allowed to buy marijuana from? Med marijuana growers or general growers? And how much can they buy at a time? Well, she told me that at least at this particular point in time, all of the recreational stuff they had is overflow from med patients, and there was no other way of getting that. Although, if you go to her website, it's clear that she is one of the growers. So, I don't know how they're doing that. You have to, if you are going to grow for somebody medically, in other words, if I'm not just growing for my own medical marijuana needs and I am doing it also for one other person or 50 other people, I have to somehow keep a record of that. But anyway, she's selling the overflow from that. They're gonna have to have designated recreational marijuana growers, because that is the huge market over and above the medical. That will dwarf, in a very short period of time, that will dwarf the medical sales big time. Yeah, I'm quite positive of that.
Certain. I think we can say that it's certain that if you get your business that doubles or triples from one day to the next, it's people that suddenly decided that they have medical needs. No, come on, let's be realistic. It's people who come in the day that it's okay to buy recreational or adult marijuana as opposed to junior marijuana. They can then show up and say, this is what I want, and they can sell it to them. But think about this also. One of the stores is in Ashland. It's almost Northern California by now. Okay. Yeah. So if you're going to sell something in nondescript baggies, no label on it of any kind, or when you sell it, you rip the label off, maybe you'll be okay. But the first time that goes over the border and someone is stopped for smoking it in the wrong place or doing this or doing that or wearing it on their head like a hat or whatever, and it has the name of your company on there, everybody down there is going to know where you got it. And some people go, woohoo, I think I'll go there too. But others are going to say, no, wait a minute. This is now cross state lines. And you think there's going to be no liability?
However, I don't see the company that's selling it as being liable. Everyone knows it is a legal product here. And the person came in, bought it here. What liability should I be under?
I will tell you.
You're not going to take this across the state of California, are you?
Okay, I will tell you. Part of it depends on how much there is. Also, this is political, so that has a tendency to blur the lines. It doesn't mean that if Simon Hare goes into a bar and buys a bottle of Hennessy, that Hennessy is in a bunch of trouble. Doesn't mean that. But if he's drinking it there, or he walks outside with it, or he does some other kind of thing with it, it's potential, and this to be the case, that bar can possibly be in some kind of trouble.
Yeah, for over serving. But the point is that, and she made this point when she was on the show last time, is that she doesn't allow any consumption at all on the premises. People were only there to buy the product. So if that'd be like holding a liquor store responsible for somebody's drunk driving, and that can't be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that just sounds kind of risky to me. The fact that you're right next door to a state that doesn't allow it at all. If they want to pursue you, brother, they're going to pursue you. Whether it's in strictly,
but it's legal here. What would be the case that they'd be taking against you? Now,
they would bring you up on RICO charges.
Okay. Well, right. They'd try to do something federal. The California would try to do something federal. Listen, California has envy on this. They're going to do this. Okay?
Yeah, but not yet.
They're already doing it. They're already doing it medically. They're going to do this. And listen, Moonbeam is the governor again. You can bank. Listen, just the other day, right after this
That's
happened,
the problem. You can't bank. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, right. Right after this, the shooting thing that we had the other day, literally right after it, Governor Moonbeam down there says, "Oh, that's it. All of our campuses are gun-free zones." Really? Well, I mean, they kind of were gun-free zones anyway because they're in California where they don't issue permits. Generally speaking, they don't issue permits.
Or you can't buy the bullets.
You can count, yeah, no, it's a ridiculous. It's pretty soon. It's occupied territory. Anyway, I got a couple of more questions. One question was, why are you and Dale so biased?
Oh yeah, well,
that's what I got.
That's
about as far as that one got. Yeah, let's see here. And then
somebody show both sides. And there's people who are so upset about the idea that we show both sides, or that we talk about both sides, or that we compare both sides. This keeps happening to us.
I admit that I am biased. I make no representation of objectivity. Period.
I
am.
Biased.
I'm not. Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
And Dale thinks he's Walter Cronkite, and that's a whole nother story. Somebody said, "Are they going to fund neighborhood improvements with the extra revenue?" And I'm thinking, is this person think that, I'm talking to somebody from the government? No, she means the private business. Are they going to take some of their money and give it to us? No, I don't think they are going to do that.
I think maybe as part of that mindset that anybody that's involved in a what used to be counterculture, or anyone that's involved
something profitable
in a lovely atmosphere where people come to our store because of the atmosphere. Yeah, they don't come for the marijuana. They come for the atmosphere because your chairs are so comfy. That's why I go to a certain tire store because they're so nice to everybody. And they think that if somebody's going to do that, why, then their heart's got to be in the right place. And certainly they're funding all kinds of childhood growth programs.
Yeah, right. You know what? And they don't think that these people are actually in this business to make money.
Oh,
Let me tell you, that's the only reason. That's the only reason. If you couldn't make money, the business wouldn't exist. So that's what this is about first and foremost. Okay?
But Mike, they're going to give away most of their profits to the needy, aren't they?
Yes, and the needy will be, will.
Before you read the next,
have their name.
Before you read the next question,
I think I'm about done here.
Well, what the heck are you going to do with all that money? I mean, really? I mean, in most places, there's only so wide that you can go.
Whatever I want to.
Right now,
if it's my money,
you in particular, of course, you could go off on every vacation and now you're not working, are you? Or you could buy every speedboat and now you're not working, are you? But if you want to keep working in your business, then obviously you're going to maybe want to open up a couple of branch stores, which is okay. But then you need to have people whom you can trust. And one of the places where it's fairly notorious for consuming the product would be Taco Bell and marijuana places. So, well, I'm making that up about Taco Bell, but I mean, first you consume the product and then you consume the product, okay? Because you've got the munchies. My point is,
that's true.
You need to be working then with people who are reliable. Well, these county commissioners will soon be out of a job, so you could hire Keith Heck to manage your store for you because he's got a big heart and will certainly be not ripping you off. And now, who the heck are you going to hire? How are you going to find people that faced with all of that money? And you're not keeping track of it, are you?
Well,
and are you going to keep 2 sets of books?
They're keeping track of. They know exactly how much product is coming in because it's being weighed as it's coming in there. They know exactly how much product they're delivering to that place, so they know exactly how much money they should have on the other side of that deal.
But couldn't your books be subpoenaed? If you're going
sure they could. Well, listen, but that is not going to happen. Stuff like this is not going to happen behind this, and I'll tell you why. Because Oregon wants that money.
So they're going to want you to keep track.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 25%. The tax.
That's a huge tax. That's a huge tax.
It's massive tax.
And Cheryl Walker's got to be salivating about this.
Yeah, well, there's going to be just a lot of money coming in. A lot.
How long, Mike, here's my question for you. How long before the commissioners come up with a brand new ordinance that they're going to want to control this even tighter than anyone else in the universe?
Well, I don't doubt that they will because there is, I think,
power.
It's money. Weird. It's weird because they say 25%, but the breakdown that I have seen and heard and read is 17% going to the state, which is still a big chunk, and then 3%, which only adds up to 20. So where's the 25? How is that working in there?
Because that's what it is going to be now, but they're soon going to change it. And the other thing is, how long before the commissioners come up with the idea of franchises ads you have to pay for in certain areas?
Yes.
Well, really?
Yes.
I mean, won't they do that?
Yes. I don't have any doubt of that. I've seen enough of this movie to know how it ends. And that's pretty much how that works. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all because that's a revenue source for government. And they're if that's one thing we're learning here is that's what these guys are about right now.
See, it just
you don't count a hill of beans if you're not
another. Go ahead. Sorry. There's a little lag.
Basically, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're not contributing money directly to county government, then you don't matter in their eyes. And so
they've said it straight out.
So yeah. So this is why I know that, say for instance, with the fire protection standards ordinance there, that has to do with franchise fees. That's what they want. They want the money. If you have any question about whether or not it's for the money, it's for the money.
Now, we're going to get all kinds of things, and this is going to increase. It's bad now, but it's going to get worse in just this one area. For example, let's suppose that you want to come in and talk or comment about a new tax or some new regulations or something like that. And in the case of Gold Hill, people have actually been invited more than once to come to the Gold Hill City Council meeting, which only happens every 2 weeks, and talk a little bit about what they think about the city of Gold Hill. It's a unique place in the state. I know it's a small place, but it's unique, and it's the only place where they decided actually to go ahead and tax that company well before anybody else did. And everybody's looking at, really? Now, how did you decide that? Well, they decided that because they thought that it was going to mean that there was going to be a lot of activity where they needed law enforcement, and they don't have any. Don't tell anybody. They don't have law enforcement there, okay? I mean, they got a guy that spreads himself out over 2 counties, or anyway, it's all over the place. And he's there like once in a blue moon or something. They don't have any law enforcement. So they thought, well, we'll set this money aside and we'll get some law enforcement. And then decided after 14 months instead of 12, look, they're really good neighbors. There's no problems over there that we can tell. I guess we don't need to do that. Of course, we played back a videotape for you from Gold Hill, which is in Jackson County, where they don't know what they're going to spend their money on when they tax the people again, but they're sure the people are going to support it. Well, what are you going to spend it on? Well, we don't quite know. Really? It's kind of the opposite of the commissioners. We know, but we won't tell you. This is, we just really don't know. So they've invited people twice now and said, please come and comment about marijuana and what we should do in this town about that. And the people have come, and they've tabled it twice. Now, people have set aside the time and the effort to come to a city council meeting, and they're treated very poorly. Mike has a little insert for you so that you can see for yourself. He really does.
On April 10th of this year, I had a grand mal seizure. I was diagnosed with epilepsy. By the grace of God, I was already in the medical marijuana state. In 5 days, I will be seizure-free for 6 months against all odds. My neurologist is thrilled, and I couldn't have done that without her medicine. I already don't have insurance on that medicine that is literally, to me, saving my life. I mean, a seizure in front of your children is so traumatic, and they've been through enough with their dad's cancer. It costs a lot, and it adds up really fast when you have to pay taxes. I'm all for public safety. Trust me, we need it. But this isn't the way to get it. It's just not fair. Thank you.
Yes, we're not going to entertain much more of this because we have a very full agenda, and this is not.
I was just going to say.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. Now, this is the second time
we won't be entertaining anymore tonight.
This is the second time they've invited people to come and speak on this subject, and they keep tabling it. And then when the people want to get up and say something because they're there and they would like them to hear them, then the mayor says, well, we're not going to entertain much more of this because we've got a busy agenda. Hey, what's with this imperial attitude? They're the bosses.
Yeah, and you know, I guess it doesn't work like the weekly business session here in Josephine County where, you know, public comment is about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Nice, huh? We're just not going to entertain that much more.
Entertain any more of that.
And one of the city councilors who was pretty upset that people had come again, and again, they are not going to talk about it. He got up and left. He went home. Really? Yeah. Not very happy with the way things are being done there. It's this attitude of, hey, you know, we're highly paid, or I don't know if they're highly paid. We're exalted officials, and you're just the citizens. Get out. This kind of stuff is going to increase.
Yeah.
There's going to be money. There's going to be influence peddling. Come on, you know it's going to be true. There's going to be somewhere corrupt police officers. Somebody's going to do that. There's going to be these guys who have been making so much money off this area from Mexico, from California, from here locally, right? Because they've been selling it and nobody, you know, what other choice did you have than to get it from some kind of, even if it's mild, organized crime? It was crime and they were organized. Even if they're a little disorganized, they were still somewhat organized. They're not just going to fold up their tents and go home. They don't like the fact, wouldn't they be object to the fact that you are now running a legitimate business and making money hand over fist? Don't you think you're going to get some kind of visit for them? Now, who are you going to call? Well, they're pressuring me.
So you're suspecting that perhaps there's going to be a little protection racket going on?
Wouldn't there be? If you got a bunch of cash somewhere,
maybe.
And you can't put it in the bank. You can't put it in the bank. What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to put it? In a hole in the backyard? You got to put it somewhere.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that the cash, because of the fact that you can't put it in the bank, it's going to grow
Yeah,
and
buddy.
get bigger and bigger and bigger until you
Like Mike's
find where to
tomatoes.
start spending that money on.
Yeah, well, you're going to need to come up with
Yes.
one heck of a hobby. What are you going to do with all that stuff? I mean, the more successful you are, shouldn't everybody have this problem, but the more successful you are, the bigger your problem. Now, this is what led to, I mean, I'm making this up. This is what led to the idea of the corrupt banks. I mean, of course, maybe they were always corrupt, but I mean, they would actually open up their own banks. Of course they did. So, I've given this hint. I appear occasionally on this radio show out in Cape Junction. I said, look, you guys got to do two things. One is you need to get a mayor in there because this mayor that they have, this guy's awful. And you're a threat to humanity. What? Anyway, they need to get their own mayor in there if they want to continue their lifestyle. The other thing is they better open up the Bank of Cape Junction. Or they can call it anything they want to. Now, it could possibly lead to a 501c3 that does wonderful work in the community. Wow, we're going to work with the young people. Okay, they could. More likely that they'll start some kind of thing where, it's investing in timeshares. I don't know, but that's a lot of money. I mean, after a while, it gets to a point where what the heck are you going to do with all that money?
Yeah, and I mean, the problem is that whatever you invest in, isn't it then tainted with the same thing that your money would have been tainted with had you stuck it in the bank?
And susceptible to seizure.
Yeah, I just the whole thing, and I think that there will probably be some sort of legislation or executive order or something like this coming down federally, because a lot of states now want to do this after watching that money coming in places like Colorado.
It's such a risk today. You think that smoking marijuana or taking topicals or rubbing it on your skin or whatever is going to stop your seizures. That's possible. But then you got a whole different kind of seizure to worry about, don't you?
Well, not
from the IRS, buddy.
But those are the patients, though. The patient is only using the stuff. He's not selling it, I don't think, unless, well, you never know.
Well, yeah, and then there's that too, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of problems. I mean, let's suppose that you decide that you're going to invest in a Chick-fil-A. I don't think they would, knowing their politics, I love their chicken, but I don't think they would like this very much. Okay, so you're going to invest in, go ahead.
You could, what is it? Los Pollos Hermanos or something. That was the
Brother Chicken.
No, that was the. I forget what the exactly what the name. I think that's pretty close though, and it was the chicken guy in the series Breaking Bad. The guy, that was the name of the restaurant that he owned that was a cover for his drug distribution business. Something like that.
Yeah. Oh, you could invest in political campaigns. Whoa, we talk about leading off to even more money. Eventually, you're going to have to find something to do with these big bundles.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you decide, well, I'm going to put it in gold bullion. Yeah, I mean, you could carry that in your pockets, I suppose. But, eventually, the more successful you are, like I said, everybody should have this problem. The more successful you are, I invite you again, our viewers, to think about what would happen if you're running a business and everything had to be in cash. You can't put anything in the bank, and you probably shouldn't report it on your tax returns. How are you going to explain all that? And it's a problem today. I'm not saying it has to be a problem forever, but, it doesn't take much. You think of the people who were caught up under this minimum sentencing thing that was a craze that was happening all over the country for a while. It's happening less now, partly because the president, actually the first sitting president to actually go to a federal prison and talk with the guys there. And that's calming back now. But there are people in prison today for life because they were holding a couple of pieces of drugs, not even using them, just had them on their person.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't take much. It's just a narrow window. And we are in that narrow open window, and that open window leads out to a 20-story drop. And those brave souls, foolish people who come in now, what are they going to do, Mike?
I was right about this. Dale's talking about this, and I'm thinking about Los Pollos Hermanos. Yeah, that's the name, and this was the
Brother Chickens.
Yeah, the Brother Chickens. That's right. And this was it, and it's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then, of course, he had a chain of these places. And listen, most people most people are familiar with Breaking Bad, and so
okay, but now what happens from this business is each of these businesses is generating money. Your problem is bigger than ever. I mean, it's a temporary solution.
That's right.
But you have to pay. There's payroll. There's taxes involved.
Oh yeah. No, this thing is a sticky wicket. But listen, obviously she has found a way around that because she's been in the medical marijuana business for years.
Right.
Okay. And so now
they put solid
this can't be any different
on her business. And this is I mean, this the whole thing is taking off. And, being one of the first people, hooray, early adopters. Yeah, but there are many problems that are solved. If you're completely cut out of the economic side of what to do with the economics, how to pay your tax bills. That's how they got Al Capone.
Yeah. It's going to be an issue for sure.
And I again say, I don't want to endanger her, and I never would want to do that, even if she didn't show up on our show. Look, the thing is that, there does come a time when the bad guys are going to pay you a visit. They're not going to be happy that you're taking business away from them.
Yeah, I would think so. Although, we are living in America here. You would hope that would not be the case.
Oh, I think it's part of our history. All the way back to the beginning, paying for protection. Oh, you certainly wouldn't want to have this place burned down, would you?
Yes. I wouldn't bank on that happening, and it's no pun intended.
Right.
But it's something to think about. Listen, if I was her, I'd be thinking about having my own protection and making sure that they had proper security. And listen, she's not the only one with this problem. Everybody that has a medical marijuana or a recreational marijuana dispensary, and there are going to be hundreds of them in the state, they are all going to have this problem.
And then what happens to the happy ambiance of your place? It's an Ashland store. Oh, it's so sweet. We sell scented candles. We sell kites, and we're all packing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's going to be, you're going to have different ambiance places. You're going to have your uptown marijuana, and then you're going to have your Bud Light marijuana.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Exactly. And I guess there's a place in the market for all these people. And
so the safest place may be your biker bar marijuana place.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, and maybe you affiliate yourself with your own protection before somebody comes and asks you for it.
Where Rika shows up with her big knife. Welcome. That's now you could call the store the Big Knife. Right. I mean,
yes. Okay.
Where the people are crazy and knife wielding. Everybody. You're not even allowed in unless you're certifiable.
Yeah, that creates a whole other issue.
That's the kind of show it is. Come on,
it's like you don't have enough problems already. Let's have you approve that you're certifiable before you come in the door.
That's right. Well, there's those people. I mean, hey, they're citizens. They have to be taken care of one way or another. Yeah,
right.
If they haven't already started, when do the threats start? We got threats from civilians. We got threats from your next door neighbors. Okay, I don't like the smell, so I'm going to push you out of this, that. Really? Wow.
Well,
you mix money in with that, and boy, you got some kind of volatile dynamite situation. When's it going to take place? You've got people who are so adamantly against this. You've got places that hand out, let's call it medical advice to minors, where some of their places around the country have been dynamited. I'm not making suggestions you don't already know. Well, how many people think, well, you know, my nephew died because of the gateway drug, which was marijuana, and places with a bunch of money end up being dynamited. Some of them are dynamited because their insurance is going to pay for it. It just, whenever you mix in that amount of money, or maybe it's because you haven't paid your protection this month, or you're late in paying the protection.
Boy, we're really getting out there here.
Well, but what does it lead to? I mean, just look at prohibition. Look at what happened. Why did all those gangsters start making fortunes, and they were buying politicians? Think about our history. They were buying politicians. They were buying politicians on a federal level.
Yeah, but
they had all that money.
At some point, you know, at some point there is going to be some legislation that has to do with, you know, if the states want to do this, is it not their business? And shouldn't they have some means of banking? They're, you know, this is something that is going to get worked out, because the state, once they start streaming money from this, they're going to be going, oh, we don't want any sticky wickets in this whole plan here. They'll figure something out. They'll open up the state of Oregon bank or something like that.
Insured. A state-run bank that's not FDIC insured.
Right, right.
Whoa.
Right, absolutely.
Now that's a change. That's a change.
Why not?
Changes coming. There's changes coming too.
Well,
there have to be changes coming. Lifestyle changes, if nothing else. Lifestyle changes. Money.
Okay.
It's green gold.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why this flag over my shoulder is no joke. Some things are going to change. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because there were lots of people when I was a little kid, I assume, that were talking about this. And boy, when the rules ease off, things are going to be so much easier. Where does this so much easier start? This has been nothing but turmoil lately.
Well, and why is that?
Partly because you've got, let's say, a city council that's determined that if you grow something in a greenhouse, even if the greenhouse has opaque windows that you can't see inside, that's still defined as outdoors. Mm-hmm. What the heck are you talking about? It's not outdoors. Right. Everybody knows it's not outdoors.
Okay, what else?
Well, they're changing.
Okay, so that's one example.
English
what
language,
else?
Aren't they? What else? Well, you mentioned another.
Who is?
What else? What? Huh? The Grants Pass City Council, for example. You've got a mayor of Cave Junction that's calling legitimate business owners that are dispensing a legal product. He's calling them a threat to the community and liars and every other thing you can think of in an open public meeting. You've got people who are so upset about this.
Right, and then you've got the federal government banking situation.
Yep.
You've got
organized
a bunch
crime.
Of these other
organized
things.
Crime is not going to go away. I mean, just go to a county commissioners meeting. The organized crime is not going away.
That might be going. That might be going.
All right, so they're not organized, but you get my point.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he's even bragged. I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. It's breaking the law. I don't know if it technically makes Keith Heck a criminal, but certainly makes him a lawbreaker, and he knows it, and he's proud of it. Not because he's standing up for some kind of principle, because he's trying to save his bottom. Every Saturday, we're going to show you some of those videos. Some of them are classics. Got people thanking us, so thanks for playing that back. Well, I love it when he says, you know, it's none of your business, or he cuts off the power, that kind of stuff. There's going to be more of that kind of stuff. And of course, eventually it's going to simmer down. But for right now, it's a bit of chaos, buddy. It's a bit of chaos. So we'll be here chronicling the chaos. We're chaos chroniclers. Now, I'm gonna mention this at the very end. It's something that you will hear again from me eventually, because a lot of people
now then.
Yeah, well, people will. many people don't watch all the way through the show, so I'm safe in mentioning it again, or for the first time now and then again later. Sometimes
I mean,
go ahead. You'd like me to? I could finish. I'll mention it another day.
No, I'm just. Does it have to be an hour show?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we've more than enough used up our welcome this evening, and therefore I will mention that very, very terribly interesting story another time. No problems. Just that since you were here, I mentioned it to you, but I don't have to, I suppose.
You can say it, but just say
I'm gonna snap out of it. I'm fine.
Good night, people.
Just for fun. That's all. Just having fun. Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. And I think we did a fairly good job of talking about the issues. It's not exactly as if we're going to answer all these things anyway, even if we have a guest, don't have a guest, whatever. So tomorrow, we will probably be talking about the wrap-up, what's purported to be a wrap-up to this whole Food and Friends thing. And if that doesn't make any sense, you don't know what we will fill you in about what that was about and what the purported end to it was, and the bit of deception that was tried to be pulled on us, and people who were supposed to be toting the party line and they didn't. And we're going to have some fun.
How dare they?
Yeah. We keep postponing that one, and the further we postpone it, the less of a news story it is. But we can now talk about what happened and what the happy result was. You'll see. You'll look at it and say, that's happy.
I'm happy.